Hi, Lights Up Bronx Stars. Today is Thursday, June 11th, 2020. I am Kaden Bermudez.
Good morning, Bronx Arts, and happy Thursday. Mr. Canuel here. We have some exciting things happening today. Thank you so much for joining us. Lots to get to and lots to do today, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's jump right into announcements. Kaden, what is our first announcement?
Our first announcement is send Mr. McCabe your videos of you dancing to the Friday song. We want to get an amazing, awesome video of as many scholars and teachers dancing to one epic Friday video. Remember, it's Friday by Rebecca Black.
Yes, and you have seen examples and you have heard Mr. McCabe asking for you to send those over, so send those over. We have this Friday and next Friday, and no more Fridays for this year. You've seen Caden's example. There's more to that example, but we're going to say that for the final video. So thank you, Caden, for sending that in and sharing that with us. Our next announcement is calling all artists to submit work for the Bronx Arts Visual Art Contest. Now, this is between Bay and BAM, and I heard there are talks that maybe a professional artist will be a judge and give some feedback on some of these things. So that's really exciting. Make sure it is original work. It can be in any medium, but you must get that in by June 17th. That's coming up. I believe that's next Wednesday. Reminder, first place gets $100 worth of art supplies. Second place gets $50 worth of art supplies. And third place, $25. Good luck.
On Tuesday, June 16th, we will have a Soundtrap listening party from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. during the sixth grade Google Meet. During this time, we will be able to listen, share, and talk about the amazing music sixth graders have been working on during this semester in music class.
And finally, remember today is our final day of ANET testing. Be sure to log in so we can get that 95% or more attendance. Seventh grade knocked it out of the park with almost 99%. That's incredible. Everyone, come on, get in there, get your testing, because this is how we're going to help you and set you up for success next year. And you know what the incentive is. No meets, no assessments, tomorrow, Friday. Wouldn't that be nice? It's up to you. Make sure you sign in. And now it is time for our good news segment. Kaden, what's your good news?
My good news is that I finally got my nails stuck, so I'm really happy about that.
Oh man, are you gonna make a video for us? Like show off some of your technique and things like that?
Yeah, of course I'll make a video for you guys.
Awesome, we would love that because this is the third time we're talking about it now, and so I'm glad that you finally got it. That's
Yep.
good news. But we want to see what you're working with and see some of your talent and your passion. That would be awesome to see. So my good news, I read an incredible article today, and it is about the GOAT, Michael Jordan, and his brand have pledged $100 million to Black communities. That is so incredible. He's done a lot of philanthropy work over the years, but this is a much larger donation that we have seen in quite some time. And so his brand manager made some huge announcements, but I just want to read you the quote from Michael Jordan himself. He says, quote, "I don't have the answers, but our collective voices show strength and the inability to be divided by others. We must listen to each other, show compassion and empathy, and never turn our backs on senseless brutality. We need to continue peaceful expressions against injustice and demand accountability. Our unified voice needs to put pressure on our leaders to change our laws, or else we need to use our vote to create systemic change. Every one of us needs to be part of the solution, and we must work together to ensure justice for all." I love that quote. I love that, people that have the ability are giving back. And especially someone like Michael Jordan, who is a hero to a lot of us, and a lot of basketball fans are just like good people. I'm a fan of him because he's a good person and has done awesome things in basketball and in his community as much as he can.
Okay.
And now it is time for our Black Lives Matter segment, and we have a truly unique and special segment this morning. Last week, after Kaden hosted a Light Up, she says, "You know what? I have first responders and essential workers in my family. Wouldn't it be awesome to have them on?" And I said, "Yes, yes, it would." Kaden, would you like to introduce our extra special guest for this morning?
Yes, I would. Here is my aunt. She's a nurse. Her name is Nicole Bermudez, and here she is.
Nicole, thank you so much for
Hi, everybody.
thank you so much for being here and taking the time and chatting with our scholars. Could you just take? I know Kaden said that you are a nurse. Could you talk a little bit more about your job and if you specialize in anything or a specific department that you're a nurse in? Just tell us a little bit more about your job.
Okay, so I'm actually a nurse on a medical surgical floor. I deal primarily with surgical patients, surgical and trauma patients. So once they're about ready to go home or ready to go to rehab, we get them and we kind of just keep them until they're ready to go to their next phase of care. Um, and I also, just kind of do a little bit of everything. And especially in this kind of time, we've been kind of all over the hospital. So I've done a little bit of everything now.
Thank you so much for all of the work that you do. I know it's long hours. I also have a nurse in my family. There's no amount of thanks that can give back for what you do, but we are truly grateful for the work that you do. In terms of, let's talk first about the pandemic, and then we can move over to our Black Lives Matter. What have you seen, or perhaps what advice do you have to people in general just for being safe?
I think the biggest thing is try to, wash your hands, the basic things, wash your hands, make sure when you're going into stores, wear a mask, stay away from people, try to limit your time outside with other people. Obviously, you have to take care of your mental health and going out for walks and sometimes just like being able to be outside in the sun is good for you, but limiting your amount of around like large groups of people, doing that kind of stuff, avoiding the emergency room unless you really have to go, unless it's an actual emergency, and just kind of those things. It's just like basic things that you don't really think of day to day, but they do impact quite a bit.
That makes a whole lot of sense. And I love that you mentioned the mental health aspect of, definitely it's important to get out in a safe way if you can, just because, that sun and everything is awesome. So I'm happy to hear that and hear about the ways that we can do it safely. Now, last week and for the past week or so, we've been talking to scholars about the Black Lives Matters movement. If you would like an opportunity just to express like your emotion, your thoughts, your frustration, this is definitely a space to share that, especially someone that is dealing with things on both sides. As a Black female in America, you're a nurse in America, you're dealing with the pandemic, but also, having to have this weight of this movement on your mind. What are your thoughts?
I think this movement is probably like the most captivating thing. It's hard because as much as you want to go out, like I would love to go out and protest, but it's difficult because the fear of if something happens to me and I get picked up by the cops, that is my life. My livelihood could be ruined by that. So I've just been trying to practice safe ways of silent protesting. So wearing my natural hair, making sure that I use more protective styles, like just doing these braids was almost a silent protest for me. And I think the biggest thing is like it is hard, especially where I'm currently practicing nursing. I live in a much smaller town, in a much smaller mountain town, where in Virginia, which is there's a lot of people or sons of the Confederacy, so it makes it a little bit more difficult for me being only like we try to see that there's growth, but sometimes you want the growth, like the growing to happen faster. You want the movement to move faster. and it is difficult being only one of 2 Black nurses on my unit and being probably only one of 5 or 6 Black employees. And so it is difficult, and it takes a toll on you because you feel like you want to say what you want to say, and you want to and you mean what you say, but you have to be aware of who you say it around. It's like having those uncomfortable conversations that suck, that frankly make everybody feel uncomfortable. They don't make us feel great. They really don't make us feel that great because we don't want to tell you about our own experiences and bring up that past trauma, but sometimes it's about having that conversation. And then like even me sharing my own personal experiences, and like I try the way I can try to explain to people is that when was the first time you realized your own race? Like when was the first time that you were made aware of your race? And I could probably remember I was fairly young, probably around 4 years old, where I was made aware of my race. Even like having the experience of I talk about a lot about this story where I was in the car with my parents, and I was probably, I want to say 6 or 7 years old. I was sitting in the back seat, and somebody comes up to the side of my where my mom's window is at, and they like we at first we thought, oh well, they're just gonna stop and ask for directions, and so my dad rolls down the window, and the person leans into the car and is like, well, what are you doing with that N word? And I was probably 6 or 7, and to realize, wait, they see me differently because of the color of my skin. Like those experiences stick with you for the rest of your life. It's, I don't think people like, it's like, and then when I ask people that, they're like, what do you mean? When did I realize what race I was? I was like, I was made aware of my race. I was made aware that I was different. I don't get to turn it off.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting that you mentioned that, because there's been a lot of studies about how children probably around the age like 3 or 4, right? There's almost like just past toddler, right before they get to adolescence, where like they don't necessarily see color or understand that as a thing. They're like, obviously they see the color, but they don't identify it as something different, right? It is those experiences that you're talking about, those biases that other people have, that then point it out to a young person. And when it's put in negative connotation, then you start to realize that, oh, this color that I'm seeing must be a negative thing, right? Whether it's a white person seeing that in an experience, or a Black person like yourself experiencing that upon themselves, like where those biases really come out. So again, thank you for sharing your thoughts, your feelings, your point of view, and thank you so much for all the work that you do. And thank you so much for being on Lights Up. This was incredible. This is incredible. This is a first. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really, guys have.
Yeah. Good luck to you. Please stay safe and always check in with us and let us know how you're doing. Our final piece of Black Lives Matter is that I got some amazing photos. Mr. Stewart and Ms. Roman went to a teacher protest about Black Lives Matter recently, and they shared, Ms. Roman shared some pictures from her experience.
Mountains, and I'll rise like the day I rise up.
Where in them is Mr. McCabe? Here are some brand new clues. If you think you know where Mr. McCabe is, send your answers to Mr. Canywell at rcanywell@bronxartsnet.net.
For one, this poster is in the back of the room. Who remembers?
Look how neat the desk is. We now know it's not you, Miss Valentine.
And now it is time for our scholar segment. The question for today is, what shows do you watch on Netflix? Kaden, I'm going to ask you first. What shows do you watch on Netflix?
I watch Vampire Diaries, and I'm trying to look for another show to watch, like Outer Banks and stuff like that. I'm trying to find another show to watch because I finished that like a long time ago, and then I started watching it again. Oh, and Charmed is a very good one. I like that one too.
Yes. All right. All right. So recently I just finished The Good Place. If you've never watched The Good Place, it is a really great show. It's just about how we can be good people and how we can share that goodness and what that means in the universe. It's a really fascinating and interesting and funny show. So check that one out too. But here are some things that the scholar said. The Alchemist, Family Feud, love Family Feud, Chicago PD, Law and Order, That 70s Show, On My Block, and anime. Also, here are some incredible suggestions from Miss Monegro.
The silence is quiet.
Now it's time for Guess the Scholar. Here are your clues. I'm a 7th grader. I love to sing and bake. I'm a Gloria Stefan. The answer was Leah Rivera.
Leia Rivera, yes, a regular here on Lights Up. I got quite a few guesses, but no one guessed it correctly. This week incentive, I want to remind you, no letter of the day, no word of the week. We have 2 incentives to think about. Do your advisory work. 100% of scholars doing their advisory work. Mr. McCabe will dress up like a clown and act like a clown in our Google Meets. And just another reminder, do your ANET testing, sign in, do your testing today. And the incentive is no classes, no assessments tomorrow. Not a bad deal, right? That is all from us. Kaden, final words for today.
Bye, stay safe, and we miss you.
We miss you. Nicole, any final words?
Stay safe out there, wash your hands, and try to stay out of large gatherings.
There you go. Thank you so much. Have a great day, Bronx Arts. We miss you. We'll see you soon. Have a wonderful Thursday. Good luck on your testing. Bye.
Feels like it's getting hard to breathe. And I know you feel like dying. But I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Move mountains. Bring it to its feet. Move.